It's time for Howlers and Growlers. A weekly show from our Arizona Coyotes writing pack, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, prospects, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything ice hockey in the hot desert. So sit back, grab your favorite cold beverage, and get ready for Howlers and Growlers.
Welcome to Howlers and Growlers. I'm your host, Pat Brown. Joining me as always is my line mate, Haynes. And stop the presses because we have a very, very special guest for you today. Joining us for today's show is award-winning writer, producer, director Kwame Mason, who created the award-winning documentary Soul on Ice, Past, Present, and Future. And he's currently working as a consultant to the NHL to help elevate Black hockey history. Kwame, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm good, man. That's a pretty dope intro, man. Glad to be here with you guys.
Hey, I
thought my podcast intros were pretty good, but
well, I try to play the part anyway. Some weeks go better than others, but
gotcha.
So again, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. And we've got a pretty good agenda for you today. So
all right.
Really looking forward to it. Now, a little history for our viewers watching. Kwame and I actually met at Gila River Arena earlier this summer, if you will, because the Coyotes took place in a coaching internship program where they hosted Dante Abercrombie and Nathaniel Brooks, who they were part of a groundbreaking program, basically, to help elevate diversity in the sport. And Kwame, you were the brains behind this idea. So to start out here, just want to understand a little bit, how did you come up with this idea? Did you know Dante and Nathaniel ahead of time? And really, how did it come to fruition right here in Arizona?
Well, you know what, man? I'm just like, I'm always trying to think of different ways to normalize minority faces and voices in hockey. And, one of the things that I really wanted to do was look at all different aspects of the game and see the places where it needs to grow. Now, my background is like radio and creative, doing things like film and stuff like that. But I'm also looking at the game in the perspective of like coaches. And one of the things I never really touched on in the documentary was the lack of, or the progression of Black coaches in all levels. And so that was always in the back of my head. And, during COVID, around COVID, just before it started, I was just kicking around some ideas, and I just had this idea of being able to take two coaches, one from Canada, one from the United States, and have them work with an NHL team and give them that hands-on training or hands-on experience that helps them to go to that next level. And so I just happened to be doing a couple of Zoom talks, and one of those talks was with the Fan Inclusion Committee, which I'm a part of for the NHL, and Javier, Arizona's
President CEO
was in attendance, and he hit me up after. He said, "Kwame, let's chop it up." And he just said to me, goes, "If you have any ideas, anything you want to kind of present, you got an open door here, let me know." And I was like, word, okay. Well, I got this idea about coaches. So I pitched it to him. He took it to Bill Armstrong and the rest of the crew over in Arizona. They loved it. And it was just a snowball effect. And, everybody just took it to another level. Me personally, I was just like, yo, let's go and shoot something. Send it out to Arizona. You guys can put it out there. Just gives me some stuff to do and be creative and give these two guys opportunities. And it just became something really special. And I know I'm being very long-winded, but
that's why you're here. You're here to be long. Nobody wants to hear from us today, Kwame. So you talk as much as you want. Now, Haynes, I know you got some questions too. So if you want to throw it up.
To finish your question, and for me to land the plane, I met Dante when I first presented the film in Washington, D.C. The first time it was released in Washington, D.C. He was there and I met him there, and we just kind of stayed in touch all that time. And Nathaniel, I kind of just met him a couple of years ago, but I'm in Toronto, the circuit of Black athletes in hockey. You know, you kind of 6 degrees of separation.
Sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way.
No, not at all, man.
Haynes, take it away.
Yeah, Kwame, can you kind of talk to us about how this kind of all worked, like what was kind of expected of the coaches during rookie camp, etc.?
Yeah, so you know, the idea was, because it's a development camp, we're able to, you know, see young guys developing and getting to work with the coaching staff. So it was a perfect mesh to be able to have these guys go in and just shadow the coaches and help out with drills, add their little input, add their suggestions about certain players and what they were doing, what they're not doing, and kind of put in their little 2 cents to it. And I think the benefit of that was to be able to have the already Arizona coaching staff be able to see how these guys think and how they deal with their athletes, and then vice versa, see how their athletes complemented or worked with those 2 coaches. And I think the main goal about the whole idea was to be able to have some sort of, not so much of experience, but hey, man, I'm here. This is what I do, and I can do this job. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, when it comes to coaching in hockey, especially at the NHL level, it's not who you know; it's who knows you. And if they don't know you, then they don't know you exist and what you're gonna. You know, if you look at Andre and most of the NHL coaches, somebody on their staff is somebody that they already know. So for black coaches or minority coaches, their pipeline of who they know at that level is very small. So now what I wanted to do was put these guys and say, hey, meet these guys, let them hang. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the hang. And if they can get along and they can see they do the job now, all that you're hoping for down the road is one of those coaches get an opportunity or see an opportunity, bang, I'm going to put you on. And that's what it's all about.
Yep. And you kind of led right into my next question, Kwame, about how programs like this can not only help create awareness of just the individual, if you will, but taking a serious tone for a minute. I'm curious as to your thoughts on how programs like this or similar programs can help maybe combat racism and intolerance in the sport. You know, I think most people have seen at this point what happened to former Coyote prospect and Detroit native, by the way, my hometown, Jalen Smerik in the Ukrainian Hockey League, and the joke of a punishment that was handed down to the point where he left the league because it was just despicable. And so, you know, you don't generally see things like that in the NHL anymore. And I know that's an easy thing for me to say, but maybe not as prevalent as other leagues. But how can things like this help combat that type of behavior and the message that it sends?
See, it's a different approach. You know, how I look at it, I don't look at it from the spectrum of how is it going to end, how is it going to combat, because, you know, racism, ignorance, all these isms have always been a part of our society.
Sure.
What we hope for is it to get better. Has racism gotten better over the years? Been people dealing with it? Yes, it's gotten better. But my main concern and what I feel these things do is the normalization. Once something becomes really normal, it's very hard to be that guy in the stands or that guy in the dressing room or that guy in the office that's going to make a sly or racist or sexist or homophobic comment. Because everybody's going to look at them and go like, what's your problem? You want to have those people become the very, very small minority. And with programs like this, what you're doing again is you're giving these minority prospects opportunity. Once they get opportunity, they get in and they do the job. Once they do the job, it starts to grow and it starts to look different. Your office looks different. Your bench looks different. Your dressing room looks different. So now that one person that used to talk that ish, he ain't really going to talk that ish no more, to the point that if he does, he's going to get alienated and then they're going to be eliminated. He'll still be around. He'll still have those thoughts and that mindset, but he ain't going to be in our dressing room. And when I say our dressing room, I mean hockey. Hockey is a big dressing room. And the majority of our dressing room don't have those ill thoughts. But there is still a group of people in our dressing room, that's the fans, maybe some people in corporate, maybe some people in head organizations that still have that mindset. We have to make them the minority. And how we make them a minority is to really diversify and make a very inclusive locker room. When we have an inclusive locker, and that's not meaning taking away people's jobs. That just means growing the pot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Making the pot a lot bigger and then diversifying that pot.
Good perspective. Haynes, bring us home on this topic.
Yeah. Do you kind of going off there what you had to say there, Kwame? Do you think other teams in the league will kind of follow suit with this? And have you kind of heard of any other interest so far from other teams?
Yeah, you know what? I know other teams will start doing it. The NHLCA, which is the coaching association, they had plans on really wanting to take this to that level, right? And do something like that. So I do see them doing more of that. Has anybody reached out? Not yet, but I think once we drop the when we drop the series, it's going to be like a 4-part mini series of showing what we did there. I think, you know, I'm sure people are going to be like, hey, Kwame, can you do this out there? And again, it's not really, I don't really think you have to keep documenting all of them because we did it already. And by doing that already, I think it just shows the blueprint and what's possible. And I just hope that, like, next year, man, if I expect and I hope that there's a majority of teams that will now do the exact same thing in their own way, shape, or form. And if that happens next year, I'd be really happy because, again, for me, it's about doing new and innovative things and helping to grow the game. And I think this is just an opportunity to do something really cool.
Exactly.
And I will say, Armstrong, Gutierrez, all expressed interest in not only doing this again, but potentially even dropped a few hints of wanting to see if they could figure out a way with the league to do it during the regular season with the pro team. So who knows what ideas can kind of spin off from this as well, and what opportunities can do that. So super cool. And I thought it was really, I can't wait. When does it, you mentioned a 4-part series. When does that drop? Do you know?
Well, I just handed off all of the files to my editor in New York. So he's got that now. So we'll be working through that. And what I'm hoping to do is to drop it in February during Black History Month. I actually have a meeting with Javier and Bill tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
On Thursday. I don't know when this is coming out, but on Thursday I'll have an interview, another conversation with them. And in that conversation, we're going to talk about when we're going to release this and
super cool.
You know what I mean? Just kind of really put something behind it. Because like I said, the original idea was for it to just be something that I could shoot, hand over to the Coyotes, your social team, put it out and say, hey, this is what we did, bong, bong.
Yeah.
But, talking to Kim Davis over at the NHL and Javier and Bill, and, we got 2 of the illest camera guys in Arizona that just shot some really great stuff. It's like, it doesn't really make sense to just let it sit in some YouTube page. Not that YouTube is a big enough platform, but we need to do more than that. You know what I mean? So
well, you guys were getting so much footage from all over the place. It was really cool from an outsider for me to be sitting in and watching everything you guys were capturing. And bonus, it gave me the opportunity to meet you too, which I'm super grateful for. So
I mean, just that whole press conference that we did was wild. You know what I mean? So
it was cool.
The guys, they did a little quick minute 20 edit for me.
Oh, nice.
And it's
Oh, I can't wait. You're already teasing. You're getting me super
Crazy.
excited about that. That's
It's
awesome.
crazy. And when I put some funk to that, man, it's gonna look super dope. So
I will be first in line.
I'll be joining you, Pat.
Let's take a super quick timeout. Toss us a like, hit subscribe, be sure to comment. Thanks again for watching. Check out the other shows on the Hockey Writers Network. We've got Saber Scoop, Hockey Writers Grindline, Chicks and Sticks, What's Crackin', Blackhawks Banter. The list goes on and on and on. Follow us on Twitter. Follow Kwame on Twitter at Kwamster007. Shoot us a comment. Thanks for watching. We're on iHeartRadio, we're on Spotify. Sign up for the morning newsletter, all that fun stuff. Just really appreciate you guys checking us out. So
did you say there was a Chicks with Sticks?
Chicks and Sticks. Yes,
there was a movie called Chicks with Sticks back in the day with homeboy that used to be on 90210, Jason.
I was going to say Corey Perry, not Corey Perry.
Luke
Perry, Corey Perry. Well, we are on a hockey show, right?
Yeah, so it makes sense that Corey Perry was on 90210. Yeah,
I'm never going to live that one down.
But Jason, whatever his name is, one of the main characters, he was in a movie called Chicks with Sticks.
Huh.
Yeah,
I have to check that out. You should check out the podcast too. They do a really good job. They're friends of mine. They do a really good job.
Chicks and Sticks. I like.
You got it. Good stuff. So I know we just talked about what's in progress.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what you've already done, and specifically, I'm talking about what I referenced in the introduction: Soul on Ice, past, present, and future. Just an incredible documentary. I've watched it multiple times. For anybody watching at home that may want to check it out, it is actually free right now on Tubi. TUBI
That's
is
right.
the
That's
app.
Right.
So make sure you check it out. I have to throw out there before anybody says anything about the documentary. You know what blew my mind, Kwame, that I had no idea was the part about goalies dropping off their feet, on their pads, and then slap shots as well. That slap shots originated in so the past portion of the documentary kind of highlights the Colored Hockey League in Canada and how groundbreaking it was. So been looking forward to this conversation, Kwame, since you and I met. So I'm really excited to ask you some of these questions.
Yeah, for sure.
What the heck drove you to even take this project on? Where do we begin? Why did you start this project, this documentary?
Yeah, I mean, okay, let me try to do the long story short version for you. But, growing up in Canada, I tell people, or people you should know, but either if you're born in Canada, you're born with a hockey stick. They give you a hockey stick, the first thing you get. And if you're immigrant to Canada, they give you a hockey stick. So hockey's always been in our blood, you know what I mean? But when I was growing up, hockey was considered the white boy sport, you know what I mean? So It almost became a guilty pleasure. So I always was a fan of the game, but I didn't really wear it on my sleeve like I would have worn football or basketball, even volleyball. Volleyball is very, there's not a lot of major minorities playing the game, but it's an important international game. So you see the Brazils, Colombias, Cubas, they've got a lot of minorities playing the game, obviously. But I wore that on my sleeve. But, it wasn't until I got a little older and I was working at a radio station in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where, I just said, freak it, man. Like, I love this sport and this is how we get down. And this was around 2005. Oilers were on an amazing run for the cup and they lost in the finals. And I, worked with and became friends with a lot of the guys on that team. And I remember going to like this bar called Hudson's after one of the playoff games and just hanging out with Georges Laraque, one of the toughest men in the NHL history.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. He's a former Coyotes as well. He went to Arizona right after Edmonton, so you guys should know about him. But
heard of him a time or two. Yeah.
But I always looked and I always thought these guys are having so much fun. And I just looked at George and I just thought, man, like, you're the only black guy on this team. And I always wondered how he navigated those waters. And I just nerded out one day and just kind of Googled black hockey players, and I just got all this information was coming in from all different parts. And I learned about the Colored Hockey League of the Maritimes, which you referenced. And when I was reading about that, I was reading about Herb Carnegie, and I was reading more about Willie O'Ree. Now I'm thinking from a media perspective, I'm like, how come these stories aren't being talked about?
Sure.
Nobody's telling these stories. No one's celebrating this past history. I mean, it's such a beautiful game, and it's got such great histories from so many different angles. Black, white, indigenous, male, female, Asian, like there's so, but they only told one story. So I'm the kind of person that likes to only deal with what I can control, and what I can control is my love for the game and my love for Black history. So I combine those two together. I was in a transition in my life where, I was dealing with this sort of depression in my career. I just lost my mother, and I just had no direction where I was going. So my back was to the wall, and I just said, two peas in a bucket, freak it. Let's just do it. So I sold my condominium because no one was giving a first-time filmmaker any money to make any type of documentary.
Sure.
And I just invested in myself, and I literally rolled the dice and took a chance. I went to a bookstore, bought How to Make a Documentary, and just studied that book, and became like a ghetto student. You know what I mean? I just kind of learned everything on my own. I've always been a fan of film and documentaries, but now I was like making sure, like I would stop documentaries, rewind and watch and see how they shot that, and say to myself, okay, how did they set up that camera? Why is this guy positioned here? And I did all of that, and I just kind of worked like that. Then I connected with a couple of guys who had already done like music videos and done some sort of short films, just to get that, what I didn't know. And I just grinded it out for 3 years, man. I just grinded it out for 3 years, trying to get interviews, trying to convince people that I knew what I was talking about, trying to convince people that this is a story that needed to be told, trying to convince people that I knew that there was a day that was coming, that it was going to change, that there was going to be a reckoning in the hockey world. I don't know how I knew that, but I just knew that. And I knew that in that reckoning, somebody had to visually produce, put out our history, Black history in the game, because it needed context. Because you didn't want people to start thinking that when you talked about Blacks in hockey, you started talking about PK Subban and that generation. We had to go all the way back.
Absolutely.
So that's what drove me to doing it. I knew that, I'm the kind of person, I don't like to do things that everybody else does. I like to do things that are original. And I like to, that was my legacy project. That honestly was my legacy project. And, people ain't going to really see it right now, but I know in my heart of hearts what I've done to help change the narrative when it comes to hockey. And that was driving me all those 3 years in making this film. I just knew, I was like, nobody has done this before.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless, people are going to go and watch it and be like, oh my God, I did not know that. Wow, that's interesting. That's new. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, super insightful, super meaningful stuff there. Thanks for that answer. I also like that you threw the term ghetto student in there of documentaries. Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Sometimes you can't, sometimes you can't, you can't. I remember sitting in my editing room with my editor, and I said to him, I said, man, after this, I'd love to try to invest some money and go to a film school. He was like, yo, you just went to film school.
Yeah. No kidding.
In film school. And I was like, all right.
It's I knowing, obviously I've seen the documentary, and what you just said, and understanding now what you went through to learn what you needed to learn just to produce it, makes it even that much more meaningful, to be honest. So that's super cool. But I don't mean to go on and on. Nobody wants to hear me talk today. Haynes, what you got?
Yeah, kind of knowing what you just said there, kind of what you had gone through and kind of drove you in the first place to really want you to take the project on. What would you kind of say was your biggest takeaway from the documentary that you had spent obviously so much time researching and directing and producing?
I think my biggest takeaway from a sport perspective was that hockey has a gray history, sometimes bordering on a dark history, that the industry needed to not be afraid and admit and just look to it and say, hey, we need to do better and be better. And, you know, that is not us today. And I learned that they didn't know how to address that. But what I did was say, don't worry, I got you. I love you so much that I'll do it for you. And I'll put it out. And you just ride your coattails and just help me elevate this, and we ride it together. From a personal standpoint, what I learned was how much I had in common with Black athletes' history in the game. The theme of that film is perseverance through adversity. Any Black athlete that's played the game from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s had to persevere through some sort of adversity. Most hockey players have to go through some sort of adversity. Yep. But for the most part, a player of color has that extra adversity.
Absolutely.
That might have to go through. Not all of them, but but I would say 90% of Black athletes have had to go through something. And the great thing about what I learned was there are just a group of guys, and you've all seen them because they've all played in the NHL, who, when the going got tough for them, they dug deep and they kept going because they loved the game. Mike Marzin, who is the second Black athlete to play in the National Hockey League for the Washington Capitals, 1974, used to get death threats. Just imagine you're a hockey player and you're going to the rink and you're playing a team, and the FBI comes to you and says, there's possibly somebody in the stands here with a gun that wants to shoot you, but don't worry, we're here. How do you play that game?
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do that?
I don't, by the way. I peace out. I'm out. I'm gonna dip. I'm out. But to your point, exactly. That's insane.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And you know, you're an athlete and you've got to go and pick up your mail, and in your mail there's like cutouts. You know what I mean? Like that's perseverance, man. That's perseverance. So that's what I learned.
And dedication and love for a sport, true love for a sport, for sure. So that's what you learned. I'm curious, is there anything that surprised you during the, whether it was the filming, whether it was just something while you were researching? What surprised you while you were going through and producing this documentary?
My biggest surprise was the fact that Canadian sports channels never talked about the Colored Hockey League of the Maritimes.
Sure.
That's the saddest, biggest surprise ever, because we pride ourselves as Canadians as this hockey mosaic. Hockey is Canada, the unofficial national sport. And how do you not tell people that the very first organized sports league for Black athletes was hockey? It wasn't basketball. It wasn't football. It wasn't baseball. It was hockey. How do you not brag about that?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. For sure. Not to mention the fact, as I mentioned earlier, that was the first league to allow slap shots and the first league to allow goalies to drop down on the butterfly, basically. Am I getting that? Am I getting that right? I'm getting that right, right?
You're right, and you're right in the lane. So, you know, if anybody's a historian of hockey, originally speaking, goaltenders stood erect, okay? And it was taboo to go down on the ice. You know, it was taboo. But in the Colored Hockey League of the Maritime, they allowed their goaltenders to go down and flip-flop on the ice and, do all that. That's what we call the butterfly style of goaltending.
Yep.
They did that before any other teams did that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm also watching the hockey game and the Leafs are big brawl right now. But
that captures the essence of this show so perfectly, Kwame. You have no idea. You're just missing a beer. But cheers for that, because that captures the essence of this show so perfectly. You just made
how
my
funny
year.
is that? I'm just being really serious, and I'm just like, oh no, quarter of my
I
eye.
love it.
I
love it because we're all hockey players and we're all hockey fans at heart, no matter what. I love it.
But just to continue with it, like, yeah, so they were the first one to do the butterfly style of goaltending. And as far as slap shot go, most of the black players that played during that time, how they kept themselves in shape in the summertime was play baseball. You know, a lot of them did barnstorming, went around. There was a guy by the name of Eddie Martin who had the wildest idea that where he said was, you know, when I swing my baseball bat, I swing it like with a lot of velocity. Now with the puck, what if I did the same thing but directed my stick downwards? And in the newspapers, they would note that as the baseball shot because they had no name for that.
Yeah.
They just knew that he hit the puck with such a velocity, Eddie Martin with his patented baseball shot. And until Boom Boom Jeffrey started really doing that, then they came and called it the slap shot. But we know that that was done way before that time. So those are some cool innovations. Also, things like when they used to play, it was all in halves. It was just two halves.
Sure.
You know, 3 quarters. And when they would have these games, the games would be this big, huge exhibition. Lots of people would come out. There'd be food, drinks, music, atmosphere. And in between those halves, they would have competitions, fastest skater, tricks, all these things. That's the stuff that we do now at the All-Star game.
Heck yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So they knew that this was a form of entertainment and they wanted to entertain their audiences, and they would do these elaborate things just to take a break between the games. So, you know, I mean, there's not enough information about the Colored Hockey League out there, but I hope that one day there will be a significant investment to go out and truly research that league. Because the rumor has it that the cup they use for like the color, like their Stanley Cup is still in Nova Scotia somewhere, but nobody seems to know exactly where that is. And man, there's so much stuff that I know that there are people in Nova Scotia through generations have either their stories or they may have a skate, a glove, whatever it may be. And I really hope that we can really open up that door. I just scratched the surface and gave the Coles notes part of it because I knew that there was so much more to talk about, but
of course
there is a bigger story out there for sure.
That's good stuff. Stuff. Haynes, what you got?
Yeah, first I want to say I didn't even know that stuff about the stuff that you would learn, and that's just so fascinating to hear. And I also want to say that the three of us need to go look for this original Stanley Cup because it's somewhere in Nova Scotia. So I think we need to all go find it.
Yeah,
I'm down for a trip to Nova Scotia.
I'm down.
Can we do the summer though? I'm in Phoenix. I don't do well with cold. Can we do the summer?
I like the cold. Like, I would like some cold right now. It's a little too warm in South Carolina. I can take some cold right now.
That would actually be a great buddy road trip movie.
Oh yeah, it would.
And it's called the quest for the cup, but not the cup you think we're looking for.
Keep it coming, Kwame. Keep it coming. You got my number. Give me a call when you're getting ready to do that.
Some stuff here.
Listen, get the creepy van together, boys, and we're gone. You know,
love it.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, I just two final questions I kind of have for you, Kwame. Is one is how have you personally kind of seen the NHL grow in diversity and inclusion over the years? And to follow that, what would you like to what would you still like to see from them going in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question, man, because I've seen And I know that there's got to be a stat for it.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping that eventually somebody will put it out there. But I've seen the growth in the hiring practices of minorities in the game of hockey over the last couple of years. I'm really happy to see that, because now again, in the office space, you have a diverse piece of conversation, you have more inclusivity, and you have different perspectives. So that's one thing I've seen over the years. And I see the openness of the National Hockey League to speak about the growth of the game, the history of the game, the people involved in the game, not shying away from saying that hockey is for everyone is our slogan, but we need to do better to make it better. As far as what I'd like to see going forward, man, honestly, I would just like to see this momentum not fall. I'd like to just see it keep going.
Sure.
Because, as long as it keeps going, then we are in a good position. There's nothing major I want to see knock out besides maybe the National Hockey League opening up a division called like NHL Films, where we can just have our own department of making wicked documentaries, wicked films. The WWE does it, NFL does it. You know what I mean? I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And I think doing that will allow us to become, or not to become, but it will allow us to tell more diverse stories under
Sure.
the umbrella and just really cater to our audience. So that's probably the major thing I would like to see. But other than that, man, just keep the ball rolling and keep it pushing forward.
Awesome. So then, aside from Quest from the Cup, but not the cup you're thinking of, what's next for you, Kwame? What's next? What are you up to? What you got on the shelf? What's going on?
Yeah, so obviously with the Arizona Coyotes, we have that 4-part series.
Yep.
Short series called it's called NHL Bound, Abercrombie and Brooks. I have another series that I'm working on. I'm not going to drop it right now, but I'll tell you, I promise to come back with you guys and officially give the whole Monty on it. But it's another documentary that's going to blow the roof and just change the way people see and open up different stories, because there's one story out there that has not been told, and we're about to tell it with the National Hockey League. So I'm really excited about that. And then other than that, man, a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, NHL 22 video games, and just getting busy.
Xbox or PS?
Both.
All right. I got to find you on PlayStation.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Whoa. Slow down, boys. Slow down. PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4?
I can't get my hands on a 5 yet. Well, who do you think you're talking to?
Yeah,
who do you think you're talking to?
I'm not making that kind of money, man. I'm on the 4 still. I'm not making that money.
But you can play across platforms. You can play.
I don't think you can play cross platforms on this one.
I've played my buddies who've got PS5.
Seriously?
So, yeah, I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm hearing a 3-way tournament is what I'm hearing.
Like you can't play Xbox to PS, but you can play PS4 to PS5 for
yes,
sure.
I have heard that.
Can you go Xbox One and Xbox New Gen?
That I don't know.
Okay, but PS you can.
Definitely. Yes. My buddy's got a PS5 and we play. It's been a little while, but almost every weekend there for a while.
Super dope. Yeah. I think my gamer tag is Quamster7.
I'm still gonna find you. I'm PJ Ozzy. I will find you.
Okay.
That is exciting.
Man. I'm so jacked. The new game. You've played the new game, right?
I haven't played 22 yet.
The
I haven't
demo?
played either.
No, I haven't played 22 yet.
I'm buying it Friday, and I'm playing. I'll be spending all day after work on Friday playing it.
It's super dope, man. I'm on. I got a team with a group of guys on Xbox. Guys I've played with for like over 10 years, ever since they've had the EASHL platform. Our team's called Squirts Hockey, and like it's the most fun That's why I'm just like, boys, we are in the greatest sport ever.
Heck yeah.
And it's just too bad that everybody doesn't know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we got, if you think of the four major sports, basketball, baseball, football, hockey's obviously number 4.
Yep.
Number 2 can be debated. Number 3 could, all those 3 can be debated, but always at number 4 is hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And hockey, when you think of those 4 major sports and look at the athleticism of those, hockey is the best sport out of all of them.
Hands down.
Without a doubt.
No arguments on this show, Kwame.
You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
how they present the other 3 sports is way better than how they present hockey. So how do we at least try to, and I think a lot of that has to do with going to the minority market.
Sure.
If we can get that minority market to really embrace the game, shoot, that's the next level right there, because that's what we're missing.
Yep.
There is a section of people in especially the United States that just do not watch the game of hockey.
Absolutely.
And we got to get them. We got to
you said we have the greatest sport, right? And just to be frank for a minute, it's because of people like you. and the fans like you, and just I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us today. B, everything that you've done for the sport and for the league. I know you've worked so much with the league to help elevate Black hockey history, all sorts of diverse hockey history in general, and truly appreciate the effort that you've put forth. So thank you for that. We will take you up on that offer and have you on when you're ready to drop your next project, because you can't leave us hanging like that.
No.
So
as soon as I know we're going to announce it, we're going to come on, and I'm going to bring one of the guests, or one of the people that are going to be in that film, and I'll bring them with me, and we'll all chop it up, because that's going to be another story that's going to be, it's going to be dope. It's going to be dope.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for the Coyotes piece to drop as well. So keep us posted on that. Again, if you guys are watching at home, though, this concludes the interview portion. Stick around, because we'll be back with a little bit of regular season starts tomorrow. Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But Kwame, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to let our guest of honor go, but stay tuned. Like I said, we'll be back. Kwame, anything else comes up, you're always welcome. We'll keep a locker stall open for you. And can't wait to see what you're going to come out with next. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to Friday also, Kwame. When I get NHL 22,
hit me up.
We'll run it up in NHL 22. You and me.
Come get that work.
Exactly.
I like it. Thanks again.
Yeah.